Hi, guys. You made it through the week and you have done a fantastic job. Today, we're going to be looking at Stories of Kids Facing Problems, Part 2. To start, we're going to be looking at grammar of past perfect verb tense. So, you're going to start with a language arts lesson. So, you've been reading to understand what happens in a story, and they want you to read this sentence from Hatchet. When he had pulled four of them, he stopped for a moment. And they want you to answer the question, what does this sentence mean? So, what are some things that you maybe noticed about this sentence? You're going to talk to your learning guide. Your learning guide will divide the sentence into chunks, and you should find the chunks that have verbs on them. What are verbs? Verbs are action words. How are the verbs that you find similar and how are they different? The verb had pulled is in the past. The past tense form, like it combines to have and had with the past participle from the main verb. So you guys will be looking at past tense verbs. Brian had left. Mom panicked because our guest had eaten. Sam went home when she had ridden all the rides. That's all past tense. You do not need to rewrite these sentences. I just want you to make sure that you have an idea of what a past tense verb is. I am going to be sending a video out on past tense verbs to the students' K-12 emails so that they have a further video lesson on that section. Last time you guys started reading Hatchet and we were looking at details, and you're going to compare and contrast those events to see what more you could learn about Brian from his reactions. So as you read more of the story today, think of these following questions. How does Brian change in this section, and how do the events cause him to change? You'll be reading page 20 through 25 from Hatchet by clicking on the link. After you finish, please answer the following questions in your ELA journal. How do events in the story influence Brian's actions? So what types of things happen that make him act a certain way? And the second question is, how is he different at the end of the story than he was at the beginning? You're going to be comparing and contrasting events using a Venn diagram. Please draw that in your ELA journal. Write Brian reacts to sounds in one circle and write Brian makes a fire on the other circle. Fill in the circle with the details of each event. In the middle, you should write actions that he does in both events. Think about how his actions connect to how Brian changes. That will go in your ELA journal. The next section talks about making inferences on character traits based on what you read. You will make our, if you look at our guide right here, you are going to have two questions. You do your Venn diagram, and then you will write one sentence of what you infer, and that is not an essential activity. That is something that would be optional. Your vocabulary words, it says here that you're going to look at how the words are similar and how they might be different. You do not need to write sentences showing the difference for these. I just want you to be able to, if I would ask you how these words are the same and how they're different, that you are able to tell me. You do not need to do a reading log, and you're going to move on to writing. So you should be yesterday's lesson, you were proofreading your story, so it would be free of errors. And now you're going to present your narrative by reading it aloud. I want you to try to share it with somebody at your home and get some feedback on your story. Down here is just kind of a summary of our lesson. Rate your understanding and click submit. Don't forget to look at your scope and sequence to your checklist to make sure that you're completing all of the essential highlighted activities. Have a great day of learning and happy Friday.